Hi everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today we're tackling a pressing issue in South Africa, or more specifically in the South African mining industry. That's the issue of mine closure. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Mine closure? Isn't that just about filling up holes and shutting gates and walking away? Well, it's a whole lot more than that. So let's dig a bit deeper into why this is one of the most critical conversations for our country's sustainable future. Mining sometimes gets a bad name, and I am of the view that part of that relates to how we've managed mine closure in the 150 years or so that we've been mining. South Africa's mining sector has shaped our economy in many different ways, creating jobs for nearly 500,000 people and contributing about 7.5% to the GDP. Yes, that number is a lot lower than maybe what it was 30 years ago. But when mines close, especially without proper planning, the impact on communities and the environment can be devastating. So if you're sitting at the mine somewhere in Emalahleni or somewhere in KwaZulu-Natal, what can you do about it? But maybe let's start with the human story of mine closure. You see, when a mine closes, entire communities can potentially be left hanging, jobs disappear, businesses struggle, and families face uncertainty. And for many mining towns, the entire economy revolves around the mine. And closure feels like the end of the world for these communities. But maybe it doesn't have to be this way. One of the biggest challenges, in my view, is that integrating planning tools such as maybe the IDP or Integrated Development Plan, your enterprise and supply development plans, the financial provisions that every mine is required to have, your corporate and social investment plans, your social and labor plans tend to be quite fragmented. And when these initiatives are not aligned with mine closure strategies, they can pose quite a lot of challenges. On the other hand, where there is alignment, this can pave the way for true sustainable development, creating opportunities for communities to thrive beyond mining activities. So we've spoken a bit about the socioeconomic aspects. Let's talk a bit about the environment. Abandoned mines can leave a legacy of pollution and degraded land. But with a bit of innovation, I believe we can turn these scars into opportunities. Imagine mine voids repurposed for recreation or agriculture, or untreated mine water being used sustainably. The National Environmental Management Act, NEMA, and the MPRDA, or the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, mandate the rehabilitation of mining sites. And for some reason, these tools have not truly made the impact or had the impact that we wish they would have by now. The financial provisions often focus solely on environmental recovery, and in the process, leaving socio-economic concerns completely underaddressed. Financial provisions, which can at times run into the billions of rands, for mine closure, in my view, need to be revisited to ensure that they adequately support both the environmental rehabilitation aspects, but at the same time, contribute towards community upliftment. Integrating economic diversification into closure plans is absolutely critical. As an example, mining companies can repurpose assets such as the land that they have, the buildings, the infrastructure, for agri projects, as an example, or for renewable energy installations or different community facilities. We've seen many global examples where abandoned mines became thriving hubs for tourism, for agriculture, and even for renewable energy projects. It's not just about fixing the land, it's about reimagining the future that can be forged from those assets. The International Council on Mining and Metals, ICMM, provides guidelines for responsible mine closure, emphasizing that planning should start early. And in that process, you need to include different stakeholders and ensure that you're addressing long-term social and economic development issues. Don't assume what the local communities need. Speak to your stakeholders. But why are we not seeing more of this? It's something that I've thought about for quite some time. And in my view, this boils down to leadership. Mining is a people business, and leaders need to prioritize human well-being alongside profit generation. True leadership requires vision, it requires courage to challenge the norm, and the selflessness to act for the greater good. This is not just about waiting for legislation to force change, but it's rather about mining companies stepping up and showing that they can lead the way. Economic diversification, in my view, is key. And moving beyond the traditional reliance on mining means identifying as well as supporting alternative industries. In fact, creating these industries. I've spoken about agriculture and the potential that lies within that space, tourism, renewable energy, but there are also many different projects that could be initiated. For example, rehabilitated land can support agri-projects using innovative technologies. We've seen workshops being repurposed for community projects, e.g. workshops that community businesses can use for other purposes, and in the process create new jobs. Really easy example, and I've seen that, and I have personally been part of such projects. So if you're sitting at the mine today, you're an environmental practitioner or a social performance practitioner, and you're tasked with implementing a successful closure strategy, what can you look at? In my view, if you're working at a mine, you have a critical role to play in driving meaningful mine closure and post-mining sustainability. And I'm going to list a few practical steps that I think if I were sitting in your position, I will do a few things. First, I will understand the legal framework. I would familiarize myself with NEMA, with the MPRDA, and other relevant legislation, and in so doing ensure that my mine or the mine that I'm at has a closure plan that complies with these requirements, and find ways to go beyond the requirements so that we can start addressing the socio-economic and community needs. The financial provisions that the mines have and are expected to have, work with the finance teams to ensure that these allocated financial provisions cover both the environmental rehabilitation, but also the social development side. Be the champion who advocates for using part of these funds to support local economic projects. Someone has to do it, someone has to champion these ideas. Engage your stakeholders. Don't assume you know what your local communities need. Organize regular meetings with local communities, government representatives, and other stakeholders. And make sure that you're using these sessions to co-create practical solutions and start building trust. You'll need the trust today, but you'll also need the trust tomorrow, even post-closure. and arguably you'll need it even more so when that time comes. Think about how your social and labor plan and the objectives set within those plans align with the local IDP. This way, you ensure that your initiatives, such as skills training and infrastructure development, are coordinated, but they're also sustainable because they are aligned with what the local municipality is planning. So engage with your local municipality. And the one bold initiative that I personally champion is piloting economic diversification projects. Identify underutilized mine assets such as your land, infrastructure, and see if you can develop pilot projects for whether it's a small business hub or an agri project or whatever the case may be. Partner with local entrepreneurs or cooperatives to ensure that these projects are truly community driven. That's really important. And perhaps for all of us to truly make a difference, not only at a local scale, but at a regional scale, let's document and share the different successes. Let's monitor and evaluate the impact of these initiatives, share the findings with others, share them with colleagues, with other stakeholders and industry peers, so that we can start creating a repository of best practices. Let's not wait for the regulators. Invest in skills transfer. You can, for example, establish training programs that equip community members with skills for industries beyond mining. Break down silos within your organization as well as outside the organization. Collaborate with environmental teams, social teams, the financial team, and see if you can create a truly integrated closure strategy that addresses all, at least most aspects of sustainability. As practitioners, I would encourage you to remember this. It's really not just about following guidelines. It's about innovating, it's about collaborating, and it's also about building systems that create real, lasting change. Aligning your closure plan with, say, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, can ensure that these efforts truly contribute to broader societal benefits. I am of the view and I'm really convinced that it's time for us as the South African mining industry to rise to this challenge. The scars of mining don't have to be the end of the story. With a bit of vision, courage, and leadership, we can create new economies, we can sustain communities, and we can really leave a legacy that we can all be proud of. So if you consider yourself a leader in mining at whatever level, let's stop waiting for legislation. Let's show some leadership, some courage, some initiative. Let's take action. Try things. If they don't work out, great, so what? If they do, the benefits can be quite substantial. I believe that together we can turn mine closure into opportunities for sustainable development. I'm going to stop there for today, but we will continue this conversation in future videos. And if you found this useful in any way, let's connect, share with maybe other practitioners in the sustainability space. Again, I know that in an ideal world, we would want our regulators to have a well-defined mine closure strategy for all the different commodities. We would want certain criteria that if we meet that criteria, we get our certificate and we walk away. But I think leadership is a bit more than just that. Leadership is saying mining, which can scar the landscape, does not have to be just about profit, but it has to be about true socioeconomic benefits for not only the employees, but also for the local communities. That way we get to leave a legacy that we can all be proud of. Anyway, I wish you well as a sustainability practitioner. I hope you try things and share with the community. Let us know how it goes. Until next time, cheers.